So a formal welcome to you, a formal good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining in. Today is for session 18, and we'll be going into the second installment of Bhakti Yoga. You would realize that when we talk about Bhakti Yoga, there are a lot of statements made by Krishna which have to be accepted per se, because they stem from a higher wisdom. And our bhakti is demanded in two ways. One is that we accept what is being said because we don't have any rationale or enough wisdom to question what is being said. And the second way of looking at bhakti is to be dedicated to your sadhana or to the spiritual practice. And therefore, through that, evolve yourself spiritually. So, two ways of looking at bhakti. But you would find that the bhakti that is being asked for here would probably be of the variety where there are a lot of high-level statements about the universe, about the ultimate reality that are being made by Krishna in his capacity as the representative of the supreme energy. And we need to sort of accept it and understand from that perspective, the whole matter. So coming to what we are going to do today, in the last session, we did, from 408, 434, 630, 707, 714. Today we have the next selection, the next five, which form the Bhakti Yoga sequence of shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita. So with that very preliminary introduction, I will move on to the very first shloka, which goes like this. It's from the 7th chapter. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhayarchitum ichchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Of course, what I have below the translation and padached is only to help us chant better. But let us go to the word-to-word meaning, which comes from the Anvaya. The Anvaya, is the reordering of the shloka. So the shloka, when reordered, and of course the reordering emerges from the Padacheda. The Padacheda is the deconstruction or the dissolving of the sandhis. So the Anvaya is Yaha Yaha Bhaktah Yam Yam Tanum Shraddhya Architum Ichchati Tasya Tasya Tam Eva Shraddham Aham Achalam Vidadhami, which means Yaha anyone, whoever, Bhakta hai. Bhakta. So Yaha refers to the Bhakta hai. Yam Yam, whatever, Jo. So Yo Yo Yam Yam is, of course, we'll find the translation in Hindi, which is far more interesting than the English one. So Yam Yam, whatever. Tanum is form. That is a body. Shraddhaya Architum Ichchati. So whatever form that with Shraddha they worship, Aham, now say, so Krishna is talking from a higher perspective. So whatever the Bhakta is praying to, Aham, Tasya, whatever the Bhakta is praying to. So Yaha, Yam, Tasya. So we find there is a repetition of these prepositions to indicate that whatever and whichever is the nature of worship of the Bhakta, tasya eva shraddham aham achalam vidadami. So that shraddha that the Bhakta has towards the particular form of the deity, for example, somebody may worship Ganesha, somebody may worship Shiva, somebody may worship Vishnu, somebody may worship Devi. So whichever form they worship, the Shraddha that they demonstrate in that particular worship, that Shraddha is actually emerging from the Supreme Energy, the Supreme Lord, in this case represented by Krishna, but it can be any Supreme Lord that the individual chooses to name. In other words, the Shraddha at a central command post of Shraddha is with the God, and then you have decentralized units which could be named after the particular deity that you are, as a bhakta, devoted to, you pray to, or you simply have as your family tradition. So the point is that the central sort of warehouse, if I could use that phrase, of Shraddha is from the supreme energy called Krishna, or whatever name you would like to choose. Vidadhami, main deta hu. So let's look at the Hindi translation here. So we have जो जो भक्त मेरे जिस जिस देवता रूप की श्रद्धा पूर्वक पूजा करना चाहता है, उस भक्त की उसी श्रद्धा को मैं दृढ़ और अचल बनाता हूं. So the firming up of the bhakti is all sourced from the original, Lord Krishna or Lord Shiva. So whoever is on the top would not be at the lower level, right? So if I say that Lord Krishna is at the top, then obviously at the next level you would say it is Shiva, or it is Ganesha, or it is Skanda, or it is Indra. Now, if I put Indra on top, then I would put Krishna and Shiva and Vishnu at the other level. So the name does not matter. I think the concept matters in terms of a very central source of our bhakti from the supreme energy that is represented by also the term called Brahman, which we have used fairly often in our understanding of the Gita. So moving forward, so this is obviously, you accept the statement. There's actually no argument with the statement, because it's a statement of fact. Of course, these facts are facts of mystic nature. These are not facts of science the way we understand it. And I will now pull out a very interesting commentary that we have from Sridhara Swami. Sridhara Swami was one of the commentators of the Bhagavad Gita. He lived in the 14th or 15th century. So he says that whatever form of deity who is but an image of me. So this is an interesting interpretation he gives. So he says that the deity that anyone else works with is only an image of myself, is a representation of myself. And therefore, since I am the inner ruler of the deity also, the Shraddha for the form that you worship, because it is a variation of me only, proceeds from me. So it is a mutual exchange of worship from the Bhakta and Shraddha from ultimately Krishna, whose form you are worshipping in the form of whatever other deity that you have. So that's the interpretation that Sridhara Swami gives in his commentary on the Gita. That's the first shloka we have. Now let's go to the second shloka, which is an interesting shloka, which says, Jara Marana Mokshaya Mam Ashritya Yatanti Ye Te Brahma Tadvidhu Kritsnam Adhyatmam Karma Chakhilam. So what does this mean? Let's look at what it means. So it means Jara Marana Mokshaya. So Jara Marana Mokshaya is, Jara is old age, Marana is death. Okay. So, to be released. So it is not that you will not become old. It is not that you will not die, but to be released from the fear. Essentially, whenever we talk about immortality or Amar Hona, it is not having the fear, because the body will have to decay and die. So we need to understand that, which is why I took up the explanation of Jara Marana Mokshaya first. But now let us attend to the sequence in which the shloka has got deconstructed. So, Ye Mam Ashritya. Ye is those, Mam is me, and me, of course, refers to Lord Krishna here. Ashritya means Ashray Leke, who have resorted to me. So what have they resorted to me for? Jara Marana Mokshaya, to overcome the fear or to be released from age, old age and death. Yatanti, they are striving to sort of achieve this overcoming of the fear of old age and death. Te tat, right? So when they do such kind of striving, Brahma Kritsnam Adhyatmam Karma Akhilam, they further understand. So in the process of being devoted to me for something that seems to be an immediate need, the additional benefits they get are Kritsnam Adhyatmam. They understand all about Adhyatma Vidya, about themselves. Akhilam Karmam. They understand all about the way to do your job properly through Karma Yoga. And they also understand about Brahma, which is the Brahman. So there are some benefits of actually, so you may have approached the Supreme with a limited purpose, but your devotion is so strong that, as they say in Hindi, Bhagwan ne aapko chappad faad ke gyan de diya. You went only to get over the fear of Jara and Marana, but what you got is, you got the knowledge of Brahma, you got the Kritsnam Adhyatmam, which is the full knowledge of Adhyatma Vidya, and Akhilam Karmam, the full capability to do Karma Yoga. So all this is just a output or outcome of your bhakti, which is why this is being actually chosen to be a part of the Bhakti Yoga set of shlokas. So let's look at another the translation. So those who resort to me as a refuge, those who turn to me in their spiritual efforts towards release from age and death, from mortal being limitations, come to know that Brahman and all the integrality of spiritual nature and of the entirety of karma. So essentially saying in a little more flowery English what I had mentioned to you. And in Hindi we have, जो मनुष्य बुढ़ापा और मृत्यु से मुक्ति प्राप्त करने के लिए मेरा आश्रय ग्रहण करके प्रयत्न करता है, वे उस ब्रह्म को, समग्र अध्यात्म प्रकृति को और संपूर्ण कर्म को जान लेते हैं. So they have this additional benefit of additional insights, all from the primary bhakti that drives them towards trying to understand and get over the entire issue of Jara and Marana, which is the whole, the bugbear of humanity. If you ask human beings what are they afraid of, they are afraid of getting old. And of course, the consequence of getting old is dying. And those are the two things which affect humanity the most, because all of us would realize that we have 2 points in life which are inevitable. There's a birth point and there's a termination point. And of course, how we choose to play our lives out between these 2 points is the whole stuff that Gita is trying to guide us with. So what does the commentary say? So the commentary is that of Swami Virajeshwara. I think I have referred to him earlier. So he says that the Supreme Self is the all-pervading eternal consciousness on which everything else is sustained. The individual self is the egos associated with every individual. And the field of karma is the activity of the individual, which also, like ego, has no reality in the absolute sense, but does look real from the relative point of view. So the point that he's making is that when we have bhakti, ultimately we are benefited by this eternal consciousness, which is there in space across the entire universe. It will kind of, enlighten us with knowledge and reward us for bhakti, because obviously if there is no reward, in the sense if there is no gain, my sadhana is of no use. See, if there is no assurance that the experiment of doing sadhana will gain for me, and of course what to do in the sadhana is where we rely on the wisdom of people who have been through that path. But they have been through the path and they know that there is an end result. And therefore, this particular shloka indicates that the end result is definitely waiting for you, provided you put in your effort with the shraddha that is demanded. Because obviously, the universal consciousness has to be experienced. It is not something that you can immediately see or touch, because it is something which is akshara and avyakta. Avyakta means it is not manifest directly in front of your eyes, but you have to understand it and we have to experience it. So that's what we have here in the second shloka of the Bhakti Yoga sequence for today.
Can you remove those 2 red lines on the screen?
How do I remove it? I don't know. How has it come? I really have no idea.
Go to annotate and then remove it.
Oh, annotate, is it?
Annotate, and then you will have another toolbar. You will have a clear button there.
Annotate and say undo. No.
Annotate and clear button.
Clear.
Yeah.
Clear all drawings. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I
clear.
must have pressed that by mistake.
Yeah.
I was also wondering what to do with it. So now, okay, fine. Okay. Now let's go to the next shloka, the third one. The third shloka that we have is from the 8th chapter. So you can see that the selection is proceeding chapter wise. So we did the 29th shloka of the 7th chapter in the previous selection. So here we go to a very different dimension altogether. So this talks about that last moment of life. And all of us have a last moment in life. And the Gita does not shy away from talking about this last moment. So what does the Gita say is what we will realize and understand from this shloka, which I will chant first now. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. So what does this mean? Okay. So let's look at the Anvaya. Antakale yah mam eva smaran kalevaram muktva cha prayati saha madbhavam yati atra samshaya nasti. Samshaya nasti we can make out, there is no doubt about that. But what is it that there is no doubt about? So let's look at it from the first word. Antakale. Antakale again needs no translation, we understand. It is the time of one's end. So what happens at Antakale? Yah mam eva smaran. Smaran, you know, who remembers Krishna or the Supreme Lord or the Ishtadeva or Narayana or Devi. Yah mam eva smaran kalevaram. Kalevaram also is there in Hindi in one way or the other, which is the body. Kalevaram muktva, leave, and prayati is depart. So muktva and prayati are interesting verbs which indicate a two-stage exit. One is it exits. So there has to be, I mean, there are various theories of which part of the body the soul exits from. And once it exits, it has to go away also. It has to depart. So there are two verbs used, muktva and prayati. But what is it that is being mentioned? So about this point and this exit process, saha madbhavam yati atra na samshayah. So in other words, if you think of Krishna at the point of your exit and departure, then definitely you will reach sa madbhavam yati. He will definitely reach Krishna atra samshaya nasti. So there is no doubt about the fact that any person who remembers the Lord, who remembers the Supreme at the point of time of departure or exit from the body. So what is it that is exiting the body? Prana is exiting the body. So, you know, till your last breath, because death we understand is related to your breath. Till you're breathing, you're alive. The moment you stop breathing, you're dead. So till your last breath, if you are able to remember the Lord, then the Atma and the Jivatma, which actually exits your body, will definitely reach to the Supreme, which is Krishna or whatever deity that you have been praying to. So this is again a statement which we cannot really corroborate, right? Because who has come back from, I mean, we don't remember our previous lives, and therefore we cannot really attribute any kind of logic to this. It seems reasonable, but then is there proof for this? There are lots of near-death experiences and studies that have been conducted, but none of them actually give an indication. So again, this is a statement that we have to accept with a lot of bhakti, a lot of devotion, because the statement is very clear. Whoever leaves his body and departs remembering me, which is the translation I'm reading at the bottom, at the end, at the time of his end, comes to my bhava, that is Purushottama. Bhava means, status or situation. There's no doubt about that. So you see, not only a statement is being made, it is being reinforced by the fact that Krishna says, There is no doubt about that. And therefore, we have actually no cause to think otherwise. There are a few other translations, but anyway, this is not a controversial translation. So, we would understand this a little easier. So let's look at two Hindi translations. I would rather go for the simpler one, which is the second one. जो मनुष्य अंत काल में मेरा स्मरण करते हुए शरीर छोड़कर जाता है, वह मेरे स्वरूप को ही प्राप्त होता है, इसमें संदेह नहीं है. I think there is no cause for any kind of confusion about the statement. Now we can always question the logic of the statement, but I would like to actually present the commentary of Swami Tapasyananda here to help us understand and appreciate the statement. So I'm just pulling out the page number, and here we are. So the force of the word cha. So let's go back, so we have cha. So the word cha, of course, this is on account of the Sanskrit, literary device, which we may not perhaps appreciate too much. Translated here as even is that it is only if the thought of God is dominant idea of one's life and has been occupying one's mind all through one's life that the thought of him will come to one's mind at the last moment. Man should not think hypocritically that he can live an unholy life throughout and achieve his spiritual welfare by thinking of him at the last moment. भाई last minute में हमने सोच लिया और हो जाएगा हमारा काम. That does not happen because one will find it impossible to do so. It is impossible for anyone to have led a life which is not devoted to God to suddenly think of God in the last minute, because we should also remember that the last moments of one's life are likely to be moments where we are probably ill or where some of our senses are not operating, but our mind is of course operating. So will it be worrying about the pain around, or would it be actually thinking of the Lord? So unless we've been thinking of the Lord at all points in time, the habit of thinking of Bhagavan or Ishwar at the point of time when you believe that you will be exiting would not come to you at all, and you would be perhaps worried about a lot of other things. And therefore, the point is that unless we are devoted to God throughout our lives, we will find ourselves to be lacking in devotion in those final minutes, is the point that is being made by Krishna here. Let me just go back. But there is a very, very strong guarantee that Krishna gives. Atra samshaya nasti. There is no doubt about the fact that the last thoughts that you have are the thoughts that will determine the way you go forward. And of course, if you think of Krishna, then definitely you will reach Krishna. What that means, we will try to understand a little later. So let me move forward now. There's something wrong with this. So we have 9.04, which is the fourth shloka. And of course, I've kind of jam-packed everything into one particular slide. So we will look at it one by one. So let me chant the shloka first. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadabhyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani na chaham teshva vastitah. So of course, when you deconstruct this, immediately to the right, you find the sandhi, the broken up, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani na cha aham teshu avastitah. So with all the breakups that are there, now we will reorder it to form a sentence, a prose sentence, which is Avyakta Murtina. I'm reading the red one. Avyakta Murtina Maya Idam Sarvam Jagat Tatam. So that's sentence number one. Sentence number two is Sarva Bhutani Cha Matsthani Aham Teshuna Avastitah. That is sentence number two. Now let's look at what these sentences mean. Avyakta Murtina Maya. So Avyakta is unmanifest, Murtina Maya. So my unmanifest form, Murti is form, right? My unmanifest form, Idam Sarvam, that is this and everything, Tatam. So all that we see around us is actually pervaded, is actually sort of, it is like space, right? Space is there everywhere. So the Avyakta Murtina of Krishna or the unmanifest being, Idam Sarvam, Idam is this earth, which you can see, this universe that you can see, this Jagat, is extended. Tatam is like, if something is pervasive, something is stretched out, but of course the stretching out is not some kind of physical stretching out. It is highly conceptual in the sense that it is extended all over, whatever you can see. Sarva Bhutani cha Matsthani. So all the creatures that are there are Matsthani, Mat means man, mere andar hai. So all the living creatures are within me, but interestingly, teshu na avastita aham teshu, but I am not in them. Now this is a little, so let me explain this to you. Let me just read out the translation. So what we are saying is that there is this avyakta like space which is there all around, that all the living creatures are there within this, but the Lord is not there within them. So the explanation, the translation, let me first read out for you. This entire universe is pervaded by me in an unmanifest form. All beings are in me, abide in me, but I do not abide in them. And the Hindi of this is, Avyakt Swarup mere dwara yeh sampurn jagat vistrit hua hai. Samast bhut mere bhitar sthit hain, kintu main un bhuton mein avasthit nahi hu. So how does one explain this? I will just come to that. So before I read the commentary, I'll explain this to you from my understanding. So what this means is that the Lord is infinite. And therefore, that is why he is Avyakta Murtina. He is there throughout the universe. And therefore, it is possible for Sarva Bhutani to be within them, but the infinite, but all the Sarva Bhutani are all finite. They are not something which are infinite, and therefore, an infinite Avyakta Murtina cannot be contained within a finite form. All the finite forms can be within the infinite space, but infinite space cannot be within the finite form. That is the meaning of the last line, which is Matsthani Sarva Bhutani Na Chaham Teshavasitah, which is broken up into all beings abide in me, but I do not abide in them. So again, you see, the point is that when we look at the chapters 7 onwards up to perhaps 12, or even 13 and 14, you'll find that there are a lot of statements made by Krishna, which are high-level metaphysical statements.
It's 12 o'clock.
Which we need to kind of understand and accept. And we really, unless we are deeply unless we are deep practitioners of sadhana, we would not be able to appreciate many of the statements made per se. Of course, we can intellectually understand them, which is what all people do, because you may get inspired to commence your spiritual practice after hearing such interesting statements, saying that I would want to also experience the understanding on a more intuitive basis.
Raj, can I explain in a half line on this?
Absolutely, please, you're welcome.
This is probably trying to explain that material world and the unexplained word is because of me, but material word and unexplained word is not bigger than me. This is trying to prove the supreme energy is supreme energy. So material word should not be identified as supreme energy. That's what it means. I hope so.
So yes, you're right.
जो लोग material word में अपने आप को material word को बड़ा समझ लेते हैं, या ऐसा word जो ये सोचते हैं कि ये तो unexplainable है, वो बड़ा है, but ये supreme energy यही बात बताने की कोशिश की गई है. आप जो दूसरी चीजें हैं उनको बड़ा ना समझे.
Yeah, absolutely correct. So you have hit the nail on the head very clearly, that there is a kind of hierarchy, and the big boss is the supreme energy, and the big boss is like an umbrella. The umbrella will be shielding, all the lesser Sarva Bhutani within it, but the Sarva Bhutani, all the creations, are not bigger and are not more important than the supreme energy. I think we have 6 minutes left.
भक्ति मटेरियल वर्ल्ड की नहीं कर सकते हैं, भक्ति सुप्रीम एनर्जी की ही करनी होगी. That is the final word.
Very, very well put. Absolutely well put. Yeah. So before we go to the last shloka, I will just read out what Swami Shivananda has to say, because sometimes we get great insights from some of the commentators of the modern world. So 904, here we are. Yeah, so as far as the last line, which is the difficult part usually, is all beings appear to be living in the supreme energy, but this is an illusion. When this illusion vanishes, nothing remains anywhere except the supreme energy. When there is ignorance, we feel that there are different, creations, but ultimately every creation is a demonstration of the supreme energy. So the point is that all beings dwell in me, and yet I do not dwell in them. For a thinker, there is no real contradiction at all. Just as space contains all beings and yet is not touched by them, so Parabrahma contains everything and yet is not touched by them. And that's the meaning. So I guess we have been able to track the understanding of this particular shloka. So Vishwarup, I think you need to go on mute. I'll mute you. Yeah. Okay. Now let's go to the next shloka, which is the last shloka that we have for the day before we open up for discussion. So again, a very interesting shloka. Mayyadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. So the padached is maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sachara acharam. Sacharacharam is sachara and acharam. Hetuna anena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. So when we make the anvaya, we have the red sentence. He Kaunteya, which is of course not Krishna, Arjuna, Kaunteya being son of Kunti. Adhyakshena, so Adhyakshena Maya. So I am the Adhyaksha, I am the presider, I am the president. Adhyakshena Maya. So Prakriti. So I am the one who presides over Prakriti, and Prakriti is nature. And of course, nature consists of Sachara Acharam. That is both the living and non-living, or moving and non-moving. There are different ways in which one can look at it. But since we've spoken about Prakriti, Prakriti consists, if you talk about non-living creatures, non-living entities, then obviously you have the wind and the waters and the rivers, which are moving aspects, and then you have the mountains, which are the non-moving aspects. But then the question of non-moving and moving is, I think again I found this notate here. Okay, fine. Okay, so Adhyakshena Maya Prakriti Sachara Acharam Suyate produces. So the Prakriti of the Lord produces the mobile and the immobile, or the living and the non-living. Anena hetuna jagat viparivartate, right? And because of this supervision, the entire world is operating. Vipartate means proceeds in cycles. So obviously we have a cycle of day and night, we have a cycle of the tides, we have a cycle of Krishna Paksha and Shukla Paksha, which is the waxing and waning of the moon, the tides. There is a lot of periodicity that we find in nature, and this periodicity is what keeps the world going. And this periodicity, the precision, periodicity. For example, if you can recall from our courses in physics, the atomic clock is what defines time, or and the precision of that simply means that the periodicity of a certain atomic vibration, which defines the atomic clock, is so very precise that nature functions according to that and can be used as a standard. Therefore, the point that is being made here is, in fact, underlying all modern science, according to me, because unless there is, you see, the scientist typically believes that he will discover an order, he will discover some rationale, which can, of course, be encapsulated in a theory, encapsulated in a mathematical algorithm, which is what the entire purpose and the direction of at least Western science is. And this is the background behind that, is what I would say, because unless there is a intelligent intelligent entity, or unless there is intelligence, the unique integration of the ecosystem really does not happen. So that's what the shloka indicates. Again, indicating that there is this supreme power which has control over all the things that need to be understood about. And therefore, we need to obviously have the bhakti that is required for that entire matter. Now, wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. I'm not able to get rid of the stylus.
Press the escape.
See, in annotation
Oh,
section,
scale, is it?
yeah, you have to select
Where is-
mouse.
Oh, mouse. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, then it will go.
Yes. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming back, there's something wrong today. Okay. So coming back to one of the commentaries from Swami Chidbhavananda. Today, of course, I have a lot of Swamis in the commentary. Normally, I like to choose scientists, but then Swamis are no less in their understanding of matters. So what does Swami Chidbhavananda say? So he says, Mayadhakshena Prakriti. Right? So the relationship between active Prakriti and Ishvara, the actionless stimulator thereof, is rather difficult to understand. The Lord therefore takes us along with him by the method called Arundhati Nyaya. A subtle point is arrived at by proceeding from the known to the less known. In the stanza 7, the Lord states, I generate them again and again at the beginning of the next kalpa. Prakriti here is only an instrument in his hands. He next says that he animates his Prakriti to do that work, thereby making Prakriti semi-responsible. And finally, Prakriti derives all the power of action because of Ishvara. It is like the creative force of the sunbeam owe their potentiality to the sun itself. So Adhyaksha is one who presides over the proceeding and keeps an alert eye. Ishvara is in that position. In his position, in his august presence, everything in the regime of Prakriti goes on well, and therefore he is called the actionless entity which rules the world. So that's what we have here in terms of these 5 shlokas. Of course, a very, very sort of each shloka has got its own, ideation, and these are kind of put together. It would be lovely actually to look at each shloka in its original setting, in the flow that we have, but we've chosen obviously to have a selection rather than a sequential flow, because I had just concluded chapter 8 for one of my batches, and we had a lot of debate over each one of this, and one can imagine that, especially chapter 8. But that having been said, let me open up for discussion. So let me first look at the chat questions that I have. Please repeat your last information if possible. Now, what is the last information? I said so many things, so I don't know what you're referring to. So let me open up with Vishwarup. Vishwarup, what's your query?
No. Actually, when you're telling the last few words about Swami Chidvayananda, I somehow lost your flow. Actually, I somehow could not understand your flow. So just repeat that what you were saying about Chinmayan comments.
Yeah, so
I've understood.
Yeah, so I'll just read out the last paragraph of Chidbhavananda, and that should help us understand. So chapter 9, 10th shloka. So he simply says at the end of that, wait a minute. Yeah. Adhyaksha is he who presides over a proceeding and keeps an alert eye on it. Ishvara is in that position as far as the universe is concerned. In the presence of Ishvara, everything in the regime of Prakriti or the kingdom of Prakriti goes on well. He is therefore called the actionless Almighty. Action is guided by him, but he himself does not take any action, is the commentary that we had. So that's what we had for the last para, Vishwarup. So Vishwarup has also left as of now. He dropped off. So let me turn to Sunilji for his thoughts.
Today, I think that today's session, the overall idea you were trying to propound was something like that more you worship, more your faith becomes stronger. And the overall idea is कि supreme power में further विश्वास दिलाने के लिए बहुत सारे उनके attributes बताए जा रहे हैं ताकि भक्ति जो है भक्ति करो इस बात का आपको confidence आ सके. एंड इन पर्टिकुलर ये रीजंस बताए गए जैसा मैंने समझा कि जैसा अगर अक्सर लोग एजिंग प्रूफ और डेथ प्रूफ होने के लिए भक्ति करने की सोचते हैं तो उसके एडवांटेज बताए गए हैं 7.29 में कि अध्यात्म कर्म और भ्रम भी मिल जाएंगे आपको भक्ति करने से. फिर ये भी बताया गया कि डेथ के टाइम पर याद करोगे तो आप हमेशा सुप्रीम एनर्जी से मिक्स हो जाओगे उसके बाद डेफिनेटली, ये बात कही गई है. और ये हमारे जो 8 अष्टांग योग में बताए जाते हैं उसमें समाधि वाले कंसेप्ट में भी यही बात कही जाती है कि समाधि अल्टीमेटली सुप्रीम एनर्जी से मिलने का, मिक्स होने का कंसेप्ट है. और फिर ये भी कहा गया कि जो भी चीज, ये बड़ी अच्छी बात है कि गीता हर जगह मटेरियल और जो मटेरियल अभी तक नहीं खोजा गया है दोनों नॉन एग्जिस्टेंस की भी बात करती है और एग्जिस्टेंस की, भूत की भी बात करती है और अव्यक्त की भी बात करती है. दोनों को कवर कर देती है एक ही लाइन में हमेशा. और दोनों को कवर करने के बाद कहा गया बिकॉज बोथ आर क्रिएशंस. जो अभी हमें नहीं ढूंढने को मिला है वो भी क्रिएशन है और जो हमने ढूंढ लिया वो भी क्रिएशन है. तो वो कहती है कि क्रिएशन सुप्रीम एनर्जी ने किया है बट क्रिएशन की वजह से सुप्रीम एनर्जी नहीं है. तो दैट मींस सुप्रीम एनर्जी तभी भी है जब क्रिएशन नहीं है. तो प्रोपरली अगर हमारे साइंटिफिक फॉर्म में कहते हैं कि बिग बैंग हुआ तो बिग बैंग से पहले भी सुप्रीम एनर्जी है, उसके बाद भी है, उससे पहले भी है. तो हम इसकी बात कर रहे हैं शायद. और फिर अल्टीमेटली वो ही बताया गया है कि भाई दुनिया चलती रहती है. तो अगर दुनिया मतलब मूविंग दुनिया या नॉन मूविंग दुनिया, गीता हर श्लोक में हर बात कवर कर लेती है ताकि आप उसके दायरे से बाहर ना जा पाए, कोई बात ऐसी ना कह पाए जो उसके दायरे से बाहर हो. तो मूविंग और नॉन मूविंग दुनिया जिसको चराचर बोला गया है, और वो जो है वो सुप्रीम एनर्जी ही उसको चला रही है, ये बात कही गई. तो बेसिकली आइडिया ये है कि भक्ति जिस चीज की कर रहे हो वास्तव में सुप्रीम है. तो इसलिए आपको भक्ति के लिए ये कन्विंस किया जा रहा है कि एक तो उससे आपका फेथ बढ़ेगा और जिन पर्पस से आप असली में दुनिया में आप मुक्ति पाना चाहते हो तो वो सब भक्ति से मिल जाएगा आपको. दैट्स व्हाई सुप्रीम एनर्जी की एग्जिस्टेंस को प्रूफ करने की कोशिश की गई है.
एंड ऑल्सो एक बात है कि bhakti is always towards something which has got great power. You will not have bhakti towards something which has got lesser power. It's a typical human tendency.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a human weakness.
Actually, ये सारे धर्म ग्रंथ जो है हमारी जो टेंडेंसीज हैं, ह्यूमन टेंडेंसीज को बहुत अच्छी तरह समझते हैं. और इसीलिए उसमें जो, और उसमें से कुछ लाइक इन पर्टिकुलरली गीता बहुत लॉजिकली समझते हैं. कई सारे तो ऐसे हैं कि जैसे जो खाली फियर साइकोसिस के सारे काम करते हैं, पर्टिकुलरली पुराणास, वो फियर साइकोसिस के सारे काम करते हैं. बट ये सब चीजें लॉजिक के सारे काम करती हैं और कुछ ऐसी बातें करती हैं और सारी बातों को कवर करने की कोशिश करते हैं ये धर्मग्रंथ, ताकि हम थोड़ा सा विश्वास रखें और उसके साथ भक्ति कर सकें.
I would like to add something here.
Sure.
In the last session, you had recommended some books by Swami Virajeshwara.
Yes.
Know Your Reality and Ultimate Truth. In fact, there are more relevant books, and I'll recommend to all group members to go through it. That's not very costly. If you want, I can share the person who is doing it in Bangalore. So that is a really good books, and that you really find interesting and will clear all your doubts.
Yes, yes, that's very true.
तो
आपके सारे
हाँ,
फंडे जो हैं, as we used to say in college, जिन का
हाँ,
फंडा गोल, it will become completely clear.
हाँ.
There's, in fact,
And they have got a book of science of Bhagavad Gita. That
yeah,
is also a very relevant book on all these things. You have been referring the commentary off and
correct,
on, but
correct.
I found these books are very informative. और आपके जितने भी डाउट दिमाग में फालतू आते हैं ना, वो सब
हाँ.
रिमूव हो जाते हैं.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, Swami Virajeshwara, having been a modern polymer scientist, as well as
Yes,
having worked in IBM, he understands the modern mindset. And of course, he is the very traditional Vedanta, teacher. And therefore, his books, which is Know Your Reality, where he's answered questions of all his bhaktas, all these atram patram questions we have, no, ye hoga to kya hoga, wo hoga to ye hoga. Did you get that book? Did you also get that?
yeah. I have purchased all these books.
Yes. So
I got
my goodness, once you read that, actually we'll have to stop the session. There's no need for continuing.
no, that's not the thing. In fact,
No,
you
I'm just
need
saying.
some trigger.
Yes,
So
yes.
your session gives us some trigger. Having attended your session, then only I came to know all these things. But it is a worth reading these books. And once you start, you'll not leave it.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll just show that book, to the group once again.
Gained by the Fourier champion.
Oh,
That is published by Hamsa Ashram and one Mr. Shenoy, who is handling, he is a Bhakta of Swami Brajeshwara. So he handles all these things.
So this is a book called The Ultimate Truth by
Yeah.
Swami Virajeshwara.
That is a small handbook.
Very small.
हाँ.
Very small. देखो ना, इतना ही बड़ा है. But then the kind of questions he answers here are very good. They are very good. Then you have two books which are like this. Know Your Reality. This is also by Swami Virajeshwara. This is volume 1 and this is volume 2.
Volume 2.
Right. So in all these, there are various questions asked by bhaktas. For example, one of the questions is, what is Nirvikalpa Samadhi? Is it same as Jivan Mukti? What is the method to get Ananya Bhakti? Right. Please tell us about Japa. What is the best way to Japa? And see, the Swami is highly experienced. So he is speaking from his experience, and therefore you will actually get the kind of knowledge that you would have got if you were sitting with a guru and asking him your doubts. So it's like FAQs, yeah. Simply frequently asked questions. वो FAQ का 2 किताब बना दिया है, and very relevant questions, and all questions from very intelligent people who have these genuine doubts. Anyway, so that's the whole. I think Sunil has expressed.
No, definitely all should buy it, and the total always the book will cost you something like 500 rupees, and that will be delivered to your home through courier. I can send the contact details of the person who is handling. He is also a mechanical and he is running his own tool-room shop.
Okay.
That Mr. Shenoy.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew that he was responsible for the couriering of the publication.
Yes.
But I think the books are very important and they'll give you a perspective. So I think now I'll turn to Rajesh. Rajesh, what are your thoughts?
Today I got the impression one needs to have a strong back or spinal cord, and by wisdom books and you are reading thoroughly, so you are getting strong. One doubt is there.
Yeah, sure.
Regarding that, कि श्रद्धा create करनी चाहिए, तो having supreme power is available, supreme energy is available, you need to have a cable, and through that cable means bhakti, you can get connected to it. So that you getting charged. But लेकिन होता है कि निष्ठ अनिष्ट और मिश्रण होता है. निष्ठ और मिश्रण होता है तब तो फील रहता है अच्छा. जब अनिष्ट होता है तो उसमें सुप्रीम स्पिरिट का फील हल्का सा कम हो जाता है. So how to make the balance कि जो अनिष्ट हो रहा है, so उसका वो चीज connection somehow we don't get accorded with that. That's one point.
So,
यहाँ मैं सुनील जिगर को बोलूंगा कि he has given a comment today in his practical Gita to how to develop somehow कि जब जो फीलिंग आती है कैसे आती है भाई वो रियलाइजेशन, how did you do that?
So
Yes.
somehow that is one.
no, because you see,
Although
the-
it is a temporary what you have said, but temporary उसने लिखा है, but I wanted to know okay, how did he reach to that level? God is there in me and everything around me is the super somehow.
ये तो राजेश ने जो वीडियो भेजा है मैंने उसको समराइज किया है.
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा
एक
ओके
राजेश ने वीडियो भेजा है, if you see that video, मैंने उसको समराइज किया है अपने लैंग्वेज में.
ओके
that-
ओके
तो
ओके
ताकि राजेश को पता लग जाए कि मैंने वीडियो सच में देखा है.
that is really good thing.
and I believe in that कि जो challenges आते हैं बल्कि but राजेश अभी पूछ रहे हैं कि अनिष्ट में कनेक्शन वीक होता है, बट हमारे यहाँ तो कहा गया है दुख में सुमिरन सब करें सुख में करे ना कोई. दैट इज हमारे यहाँ तो बल्कि ये कहते हैं कि जब दुख होता है तो आप असली में सोचते हो कि शायद भगवान हमें बचा लेगा इससे, और सुख में जो आप भगवान का जप करते हो वो एक्चुअली मीनिंगफुल नहीं होता, वो रिचुअलिस्टिक होता है. जब आप सुख में सुमिरन करते हो वो दैट इज मोर रिचुअलिस्टिक. तो एक्चुअली संभाव यही कंसेप्ट तो बताता है कि आप दोनों कंडीशंस को सिमिलर मानो, सुख और दुख को सिमिलर मानो, तब आपको शायद वो, और ये चीज ही तो लर्निंग करनी है. दैट्स व्हाई हम ये सब सेशंस कर रहे हैं, ये लर्निंग के लिए. तो जैसे एजुकेशन से हमारी डिफरेंट जो हमारे अंदर प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं वो निकल जाती हैं. जो अनएजुकेटेड लोग होते हैं वो जैसा बर्ताव करते हैं हम उनसे बेटर बर्ताव करते हैं. तो इसीलिए गीता इज ए वे ऑफ लाइफ एजुकेशन, लाइफ स्किल्स.
Get increased. Okay.
ताकि
Yeah,
जो
and-
अनिष्ट की बात है वो राजशेखर विल एक्सप्लेन इट फर्दर टू यू, आई थिंक.
yeah. So the way I would want to put it is that, you see, Anisht, Isht, Mishra is at one level of understanding. But when you have deep bhakti, what you will say is Bhagwan jo karta hai, acha hi karta hai. You don't even classify it as Isht, Anisht, and Mishra. Correct?
No other way is available. Yeah. No.
हाँ, correct.
That is
So
the
when
only.
we are, लोगों को समझाने के लिए हम कहते हैं भाई इष्ट है अनिष्ट है, when you are at the beginning of your karma yoga journey, but once you are a deep bhakta, you will say भगवान जो करता है वो जानता है कि भाई ये पास होना है, ये फेल होना है, ये मिक्स्ड होना है. That is his judgment and I leave it to him. मैं तो उनका भक्त हूँ, मैं सिर्फ निमित्त मात्र हूँ.
You need to accept it.
आगे, so you don't question, right? So that is at, obviously it is not at the first level. At the first level, you have to at least tell yourself, इष्ट है तो हमें ज्यादा खुश नहीं होना, अनिष्ट है तो ज्यादा दुख नहीं होना, मिश्र है तो ठीक है, balance रहना है. This is what you tell yourself. So you see, Gita also gives various grades that you can go up. So Gita is not at one level. As you will realize as we keep discussing, Gita में बड़े सारे levels होते हैं and therefore it appeals to everybody. अगर गीता का लेवल एकदम ऊंचा है, then lot of people will not be able to derive message. अगर गीता का लेवल एकदम जो है basic है, then also a lot of people, the kind of people who find it very interesting and very good would not say so, because you have the greatest of philosophers, greatest of scientists who find value. So Gita has this amazing ability to reach you at your level. So that is why, we continue to study the Gita and find value in it.
Raj, I have just one question, one
Sure.
answer and question also. Actually, I would like to share. I see, every day there's a program on Ramakrishna. What his thoughts were. I spent half an hour there, and very nicely the things are presented there. There I found Ramakrishna's opinion on different problems that happen to man is God gives you certain informations. Instead of overreacting, trying to understand the information, he always tries to get the information. So sometimes some bad situation comes. He tells you something, God wants to educate you. You try to learn whatever God is trying to do. You have to pray to God, maybe have faith and do jap or meditate, and then slowly God will give you the information. Maybe you have to wait for 7 days, 10 days, but that information will come to you if you have faith and you have devotion to God. What Raj was saying, probably that is a practical application what Ramakrishna has shown to the world.
Correct. See, all these very great saints have realized God within themselves, and they give us an example to follow in terms of implicit faith in God. Ye hua, very good. Ye nahi hua, very good. Ye hoga, very good. Ye nahi hoga, very good. You know, so they are totally, as in the words of Rajesh, they have established that pipeline of Shraddha to God, which is so strong that whatever comes through that pipeline in the reverse flow is acceptable to them. Correct.
So Raj, I must add, there's one missing link probably. All of us are. I'm saying he says you wait for the opportunity to get the answers. You will not get the answers in a day. It may take you 7 days, but have faith. God actually is trying to educate you on certain areas where you do not have knowledge. That is our cust. That is the pain we are having. वो pain से अगर आप, if you have faith in God, God will take you away from the pain, but He will make you understand this is what you have to learn. You do not know. Learn this, then you will. The problem will be solved. And secondly, He has shown also Ramakrishna, honesty is such a big, powerful thing. Honesty in everywhere. God will just stand beside you and tell you, this is that this is what you need to do. This is what you will get. I mean, He will give you whatever you want. You don't have to have money. You don't have to have anything else. Just honesty is a very, very powerful tool. Because that's how probably Yudhishthir went to he almost entered the heaven. He could not, but that power is there. That takes you, you don't have to move by yourself. God will take you there. And what Raj has said, God is everywhere. God is in everything. You do not know. You will not feel it because He is there. We are inside Him. He is not inside us, which Raj has rightly pointed out. So we cannot realize Him without actually Shraddha, Bhakti, maybe Prarthana, devotion. Highest level of sadhus probably have understood a little bit of it. So we are nowhere near them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are at 12:30 now, and I must confess, Sunil ji, that I forgot to start recording the second part of the.
No, I had recorded.
I know. So I am, totally sort of incapable of helping you in this
I'll put
session.
it faster. I'll put it today itself.
Yeah.
17th was already put. I'll put it.
Please take your time. Not that's the issue. But I don't have a backup to support you is what I wanted to say.
It's okay. I have that recorded.
Okay. And just one second point is that should I get in touch with Professor Rajiv Tripathi tomorrow? I mean,
I'll try to message him today. I'll try to message him today.
Yeah, so try to message him so that I can call him up tomorrow and see, because
can you send me a brief agenda of your what should I talk about?
Oh yes, absolutely. I will send that to you.
And then I'll write then message according to whatever is your agenda.
Yeah. So I will, it's a kind of outline of what I want to do so that, you have some talking points.
Okay.
I will definitely do that. So again, let me tell you, it is on the basis of what this professor has done in IIT Chennai. Okay. So this is a book called Spirituality at Work. This is the practical message of the Bhagavad Gita. So what he has done is he has put together, so he ran this course. He's selected about 164 shlokas. So bana banaya course hai mere paas. Koi tension nahi hai. It has, mane dimag lagane ki zarurat nahi hai. Kya chunna hai, kya nahi chunna hai. Okay. That is my thing, So I have a bana banaya
Raj,
course.
I will tell you one point. I'll tell you one point. That जो आप स्वामी जी की कमेंट्री बताते हो उससे कहीं ज्यादा जो आप बताते हो वो अच्छा लगता है. Because उसमें जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो निकल कर आता है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग निकल कर आता है डायरेक्टली। तो इसलिए इस तरह के सेशंस की और ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस हो जाती है। जो कैरियर्स होता है, हम कैरियर्स को, ठीक है, कैरियर्स को भगवान नहीं मानना है, बट स्टिल अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए कैरियर्स आर आल्सो एसेंशियल।
No, absolutely, absolutely. So what happens is that, since I have all the bana banai masala of some other person, उसको मैं digest करके I am giving it out, in my own way.
नहीं, बट आप एक स्लाइड अपने अंडरस्टैंडिंग की भी डाल दिया करो, जो और अच्छा रहेगा। वो जो कमेंट्री आप देते हो, उसके बाद अपनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग जो आप वर्बली बता रहे हो, वो स्लाइड में भी डालो, ये मैं बोल रहा हूँ।
That will be one change, okay?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do
बिकॉज
that.
वो सॉलिड है, ऐसी बात नहीं है कि वो सॉलिड नहीं है। ऐसा नहीं है कि हमें स्वामी जी का ही नाम चाहिए तभी समझ में आएगा।
Great. Point taken.
Raj,
So thank
actually,
you so much.
what
Yeah.
Raj,
Yes.
I just want to inform what Sunilji Garg said is a very relevant thing. Actually, this is a satsang actually, where we are able to talk to each other, express our doubts, and get everything in a very natural way.
Correct.
This is what is helping us, and we are enjoying also. We are discussing with our friends where we can tell our problems. We can discuss very openly whatever we are having. This is also giving us a lot of mental relief. And
So I must confess and share with you that this is exactly what happens in my other two Bhagavad Gita classes also. So we have this once a week. I have one batch which is on a daily basis, Monday to Friday. I have another batch which is on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is exactly what we do, though we take up only 2 shlokas per session. So there is such an in-depth discussion that we have on the 2 shlokas. It is, I think I must invite you to one of them, you will really enjoy. So probably I'll invite you. I will, of course, take the permission of my students and say, boss, I'm inviting some of my, Sunday batchmates who join me, because it's very interesting for you to observe. So I'm going to be starting chapter 9 on Monday. So I'll have a word with my students and then say that, can I invite you? So if you have time, because it is between 7:30 and 8:15. So if you have time, you can join in, and then we'll see how we take it forward from there. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.